Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming along to the Women's Health Goulburn North East e-learning launch on this International Women's Day 2023. So if we haven't met, my name's Amanda Kelly and I'm the CEO of Women's Health Goulburn North East. So I'd like to begin this afternoon by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the lands on which I'm standing today, the Bangarang people of the Eora Nation. And I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and extend that respect to any First Nations people here today with us. And on International Women's Day, I also want to pay my respects particularly to the strong, proud and generous women of our First Nations. And I commit to remembering them in every way we work at Women's Health Goulburn North East, and always was and always will be Aboriginal land. So this year, the theme of International Women's Day in Australia is Cracking the Code, Innovation for a Gender Equal Future. This theme complements the United Nations 2023 International Women's Day theme, Digital, Innovation and Technology for Gender Equality. Lifting girls and women out of poverty and financial hardship, increasing opportunities to contribute and connect, and fostering equitable access to technology and safer online spaces has become integral to the achievement of gender equality. Today, we'll be hearing from our guest speaker, Tammy Atkins, on my screen. She's that way. Hello, Tammy. Who will discuss our theme in more detail. And then we will be then presenting a demonstration of our new e-learning platform. So we're really, really glad to see you here today. And I want to note that we've had some apologies from those unable to attend. And we've also had a message from Helen Haynes, the Federal Independent Member for Indi, who was disappointed not to be here and asked if we would read this out on her behalf. And I just want to stress that I'm quoting here, and you'll see why I'm stressing that in just a moment. So from Helen, good afternoon to our inspirational CEO, Amanda, that would be me, and the outstanding and dedicated Women's Health Goulburn North East team, some of whom are here with us today, to our guest speaker, Tammy Atkins, and to the guests today. For more than a decade, Women's Health has been advocating for change that would empower and promote gender equity. Thank you for your very important work. First of all, can I start by apologising that I can't be there in person today. I am currently in Canberra for Parliament Sitting Week. Women's Health has always been recognised as a leader in community advocacy, supporting women's health and working towards the prevention of violence against women. So it's no surprise we're here today leading the way in breaking down the barriers that currently exist for women and girls in digital inclusion, access and e-safety. I'm always excited by the programs Women's Health Goulburn North East seeks to provide to our rural women, and this program is no different. I trust you will all leave here today enriched, inspired and empowered. So, end quote. So I want to thank you for your kind words, Helen, and it's really wonderful to have you as a very strong voice supporting our region and regional Australians at the federal level. And we know that you, Helen, are a staunch advocate for improving access to infrastructure across rural, regional, remote Australia that will allow for more safety and inclusion for us all. Before I hand over to Tammy, just a tiny bit of housekeeping. You will have noticed we're being recorded. We've enabled closed captions if you do need them. And please feel free to use the chat as we go and hide it if you find it distracting. And we're really hoping we will have times for questions. So pop them in the chat, and Danny, who's helping out with our technical side today, will have a look at those. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker, Tammy Atkins. Tammy's worked on a number of digital literacy projects across our region and Victoria-wide. You can read Tammy's bio on our website and find out more via her LinkedIn page. So I won't read that out for you, but I do want to say that Tammy's curiosity and her passion for improving the lives of women and girls is why she's such an amazing advocate for our region. And it's a real pleasure to hand over to you, Tammy.
Thanks very much, Amanda, and hello everyone. It's lovely to see some familiar faces in the crowd here today. Great to be joining you online. I'm dialing in from Tangerang country, Milawa, just on the outskirts of Wangaratta. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the digital literacy programs that I've been part of. And we all know that access to the internet improves the quality of life for women living in rural and regional areas, and how having the skills and the equipment to be online just makes life easier. And it gives us the convenience of online banking, shopping, paying the bills. It opens up the world of telehealth, community services, and it helps us connect with our loved ones, as we saw through the pandemic. And then it creates opportunities like that, like we have today. But all of that said, digital exclusion is still a very real concern. And there's an online divide that's leaving a lot of people, especially women, behind. And that's going to have real social and economic impacts. And it's an issue that has crept up as online-only services have grown. And it's a problem that's been exacerbated by the pandemic and the gusto with which those of us who can and have embraced the digital world. And some of you may already know this, but the Australian Digital Inclusion Index in 2020-21 identified 3 main factors preventing rural and regional women from being present online: access, affordability, and ability. Now, there's not a lot that we can do on access and affordability other than lobby people like Helen for better and more affordable infrastructure, but we can lend a hand with ability. And there is the program that Amanda's mentioned that we'll talk about in a moment, and we can help women through training and through learning programs. And I've delivered some interesting digital literacy programs over the years, and Amanda's asked me to share some of my learnings and some of those observations with you. And thinking this through over the past week, the biggest learning that I've had is not to make any assumptions or judgments about why a woman is not online. There are so many reasons, and it's really, really complicated. And some of you would know my colleague, Alana Johnson, chair of the Victorian Women's Trust. Alana's highlighted a number of times that despite the resourcefulness and the strength of regional women, almost a third report experiencing exclusion from the digital world. And this exclusion is exacerbated by a fear and shame of a perceived lack of technical skills. So just think about that fear and shame for a moment. Technology can be difficult for all of us at the best of times, let alone when you're lacking that confidence. And all of us here would know the frustrations of poor mobile connectivity, internet speeds, buffering, blackouts. Now, put yourself in the shoes of a woman who hasn't had a lot of time or training online, and suddenly, after a bushfire, her phone becomes the household computer. Or she doesn't have a computer and she's been out of the workforce for a number of years, and the only way to apply for a job at the local council is through their online portal. Even for a casual cafe attendant for $18 an hour, or a cleaning job that doesn't require any use of ICT, you've got to go to a website, register with a self-service portal and upload an application. Or with the Solar Victoria rebates, where the government tries to be really helpful and sends you a tailored email with a special link that helps you log in more quickly. Look, that's great, but good luck opening that if you've got an older iPad with an old email app and browser that just can't be updated. You've got no hope of opening that. And when we're working with women, it's best we don't make any assumptions about the technology and the skills that they have. And I'll give you some examples. During COVID, there was an organisation that produced a fantastic resource for their multicultural community. Lots of timely information, different languages, pictures. It was a really, really rich resource. To save paper, they didn't print copies. Lockdowns, as we know, happened really quickly, and suddenly that resource was needed. It was made available online, it was emailed out. And that's when they discovered that not everyone has a computer or a printer, and not everyone can open a PDF. And that caused a lot of angst. So the learning here is, if it's an important resource, be prepared to print it. And secondly, if you're running training online, offer help to women to help them turn up. One of the most popular programs I've run have been Zoom test sessions, where we've had a cuppa over Zoom with a very, very understanding guest speaker, and everyone has had a go at chatting and pressing buttons. It's really fun. There's no pressure. People drop in, they drop out, and it demystifies the whole process. And the feedback afterwards is that these sessions, as completely chaotic as they are, women have left more confident about using their devices and about using the internet. And they're a lot of fun as well. And for other online programs, at registration, I've asked people for their postal address, and I've actually posted them a program handbook that includes very basic instructions about getting online. Or I've scheduled a one-to-one Zoom with them beforehand to check their system and to show them how it works. If they need to go out and purchase a headset, then they've got time to do that. Or if they need to update their system, they've got time to do that before we do the training the next day or the next week. And I always start an online event at least 15 minutes early for a tech check, so that I'm available for anyone who might not know how things work before we get started. So I hope some of that's helpful, but back to what I've learned. We need to make it as easy as possible for women by minimising our use of technology. So read our audience. Maybe we don't need slides, Miro, Jamboard, whatever whiz-bang program's hot right now. If those extra steps are going to confuse people, if we don't need it, don't use it. If it's appropriate, at the start of every session, ask women what they need a hand with or why they're participating. If it's a face-to-face event and someone needs a hand updating an old iPhone, it's really good to get started early in the day, because sometimes it can take 2 hours. And I learned that the hard way in Mildura one afternoon. One of the most important things is to be really careful about assumptions. And I mentioned the barriers of access, affordability, and ability, and I'll just flesh that out a little bit more. There's confusion. I spent some time with a woman who'd purchased an Android phone, and a few months later, she finally brought a new car, except her car only has Apple Play, and now her new phone won't easily connect with her car. So it's just those instant frustrations. And some women find it difficult to accept that a laptop or a phone they paid a lot of money for 5 years ago might have to be replaced. There's a desperate need out there, I think, to increase awareness of mobile phone consumer rights for women. I've heard from women who are paying really high charges to their telecommunications provider, and they've been locked into extended phone contracts or have been on their plan for years just because their contract keeps rolling over and over, and they've not been aware that they can cancel or they can change this. There's fear. I've met women so concerned about their phone's data charges that they only use their phone in emergencies. And often they just don't know they can go to the local library and that there's free Wi-Fi and amazing programs like BorrowBox and so many free programs they can take advantage of at local libraries. I've met women who, in the midst of grief, find themselves having to pay the bills or do their BAS online for the first time ever. And then there's scams. Women who are embarrassed to have been scammed or fearful of being scammed. There is so much fear out there about that. And it all seems really alarming, and it should be, but there's plenty of happy tears happening as well. I had a few years ago 2 older ladies enroll in one of my digital workshops for sports clubs. And yes, they were members of a bowls club, but it was interesting that they'd enrolled. But they were really there because they wanted to connect with their grandkids on Facebook. So I took them aside and we took that offline and we had some lessons and we got them connected. And their grandkids, teenagers being teenagers, they responded straight away to their nana's messages. And I had 2 nanas, 2 granddaughters, and some absolutely beautiful moments happening. It was lovely. I've helped lots of women FaceTime a loved one, and to you and me, that just involves pressing a button. But to someone fearful of social media, there's a whole lot more to it. And more recently, that ended with a woman running out of the library, crying happy tears, holding her iPad up, and with a rather confused daughter on the screen, and a lot of happy tears there. I helped a lady with sight issues set up tap and go on her phone and to make the text bigger on her iPad and her Kindle. Look, that didn't take a lot of time, but it was absolutely life-changing. And I can't tell you the number of devices I've updated or the women I've convinced to add face recognition or at least a passcode to their phone. But at the end of the day, what I've learned is that often the barriers that prevent women from engaging online are obstacles that you and I might easily overcome or might not even recognise as being barriers. And with the Rural Women Online program that the Victorian Women Trust ran recently, for example, 12 open days, 500 women. And I went back and had a look at those stats, and only 5 complex issues come to mind. The bulk of the queries women had were related to niggles with websites, devices not being updated, and women wanting to learn more, mostly about wanting to learn to be safe online. So in summary, I think it's incumbent on all of us to help women overcome those ability-based digital inclusion barriers by providing positive and empowering opportunities to help women build their digital skills. Don't make any assumption about skills or devices, and make it as easy as possible for women to participate, and make it fun. Fun is so important. We need a whole lot more fun happening in everything that we do. I hope some of that's of interest, and I'm more than happy to take any questions or to talk to you further about some of those programs I've been involved in.
Thanks, Tammy. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat at the moment, but please do pop them in. And are you going to stay around for the next few minutes? Great. Thank you, Tammy. So if you do think of anything you'd like to ask Tammy, please do. Thank you. It's really wonderful to have you here today and to share what you've learned. And I think, you know, the main takeaway is no assumptions and no judgment, I think is, for me, the really important piece in this. Yeah, so thank you for the talk today and the work that you are doing. And I want to now just talk a little bit about our e-learning platform. And so through our funders, the Victorian State Government, we've been working over the last 15 months with many of our stakeholders, and some of whom are here today, and it's great to see you. Thank you. You know who you are, and you've been amazing with us. And so very briefly, our e-learning platform sits in the space between standard gender equity training and that more tailored in-person facilitated conversations that Women's Health does. What we saw, there was a gap in the middle there, particularly for workers, for people in the gender equality space. And so we've developed this with environmental scans, consultations, conversations, and testing. So it isn't physically possible for us to work with all of our stakeholders in person right across our region. So this is what we've developed. We want you to have high quality, regionally focused, self-directed learning that can be accessed in your own time. Women's Health e-learning is open to everyone, but it is designed, as I mentioned, for those working in or interested in learning more about gender equity, health promotion and prevention of gender-based violence. We want those that have, say, for example, health and wellbeing plans, obligations under the Gender Equality Act, and those that are in education, local government, health services and community health to have access, easy access to further learning. We're not an RTO, we're not aspiring to be one. We want this to be informal and as accessible as possible for you. So we hope that this learning will in turn lead to policies, plans, frameworks, programs that are developed with a strong gender lens for the benefit of our communities. So now I will ask Danny, if you wouldn't mind getting us all set up, and I will just, yeah, that's great. Good to see you cats, Danny. That's what we want. Thank you. It's not a meeting if there isn't a cat involved. So our eLearning, we did what we called a soft launch at the 16 Days of Activism in November, December 2022. And we've now refreshed that. We've had some fantastic feedback from our stakeholders. And you can see this is the front page of the course. You can read about of the platform. You can see what we're doing here. So Danny, who is our instructional designer and has supported us right through this process, and has put together a short demo course to show you what you'll see as you work through our courses. So this is a demo, it's not a full course. And so here it is. And each and every course includes an acknowledgement of country and an acknowledgement of the women who have come before us to work towards gender equality for all. The support key contacts page is included in every course to ensure the numbers are easily accessible for anyone who might need them. And then page layout varies depending on the way that we want to present the information to you, but also while trying to provide visually appealing content. Extra resources such as videos, links to websites, articles, or other other content are provided throughout our courses, so learners can extend their understanding of concepts further. Design elements are neat, easy to follow, visually appealing, while ensuring the content is accessible as possible for learners with accessibility needs. We provide information on how and or what learners can do to start taking small actions towards gender equality. There are interactive activities in many of our courses that allow learners to select different buttons or tabs so that they can actively engage with the content, especially important for visual learners. And we have quizzes in the form of true, false, multiple choice, multiple responses, fill in the blanks, or matching activities are provided to allow learners to check their understanding of the content so far. Translating awareness to action is a really key part of what we hope people get out of these sessions. And so there are reflection exercises that allow you to consider what you might do to support gender equality in your work, in your home, in your community. Each course ends with a short course summary, recapping the main points, and also a list of references as well if you do want to dig deeper. And of course, there's always congratulations page, because well done for getting through the course. And then once we've done that, everybody gets a certificate of completion. So that is it. That is what it looks like. Very, very short piece. And we'll now that we have this set up, we will be building more. Oh, sorry, we need to see the certificate. Thank you, Danny. Beautiful. Wonderful. And you get it signed from me as well, which I think is well worth just working through the course for. So thank you, Danny, and thank you, Tammy. So that really sort of brings us to the end of the formal presentation. But before we do go, I would really like to find my page or my notes where I'm up to. And I would like to thank each and every one of the team at Women's Health Goulburn North East who've contributed to this project. It's been a really big group effort, and it's been wonderful to work through this with you. And I also want to really thank our stakeholders who have generously given their time and their expertise to help us make this the best we can. We're going to keep learning. We're not going to stop, and we're going to now look at the different courses that we can now build into this. So the ones you'll see, many of them are sort of awareness level courses. Many of you that are on the screen will know this stuff, but please feel free to go through it. You never know what little thing you can pick up in there. But their awareness, what we call awareness level courses, we'll be looking at more of those. We'll be looking at more courses to develop your knowledge, a deeper knowledge. So these will be longer, more in-depth courses, and then we'll look at skills building, really, again, detailed courses to see how we can build those skills. So I'm really excited about this. If you can't tell, it's just wonderful, and it's just been a big team effort. So thank you so much, everybody. So that brings us to the end, as I said, of our formal piece. I can see that there's some questions in the chat, which I haven't had an opportunity to look at. I would love to open it up. If anybody does have any questions that they'd like to ask, we've got 3 minutes left. And, you know, I'm very happy to stay and chat if people would like, but I'm also really aware of time pressure and how busy everyone is. And there's possibly International Women's Day afternoon teas that people want to go to or something like that. So I'll stop talking, and I would love to hear from anyone who's got, who would like to chat. And I'm going to take me off the main thing so we can see everybody. We've got you, Tammy.
Oh, and it's taking me off.
Yeah. Trying to do that.
Crowd we've got. I'm sorry I've taken up a lot of time, but Maria being here has just reminded me that one of the biggest issues that came up, 12 with the recent program, the Connecting Rural Women, 12 open days, 500 women, scams was the biggest issue, by far the biggest issue. And we had to be really conscious of women who would very, very subtly creep into the room after the event had started, or would very shyly participate, and just to be careful of their mental well-being. No one wants to talk about having, well, only the occasional person wants to talk about having been victim to a scam, but there's a lot of people who have fallen for scams, and it's a big issue. And you're doing great work in that elder space there, Maria. Congratulations on all the work you're doing.
Oh, thanks, Tammy. And you've always been a wonderful support too. So thank you. And I think this is really great. And it kind of got me thinking again about other things and what else we can be doing, because we're receiving lots of calls, and lots of calls we're not receiving because the embarrassment and the shame, you know, when scamming and things like that happen. And it's even the conversation around domestic violence, that it's, you know, I get a lot of people contact me because they feel safe to do that, but they won't open up and reach out for further help. So it is a really big issue. And yeah, but I think well done on this. I think it's really great, and I'm going to push it through to my work as well, and certainly share it with any of the sessions or networks that I go out to. So thank you.
Thanks, Maria. And yeah, thank you for the work that you do. And if there's anything that you see that you think that, you know, we're so open to feedback on this. So please remember to do that as well. Thank you. Okay. Well, it's right on 2 o'clock, and so I want to say thank you so much to everyone for being here. It's much appreciated. We've recorded the session, so we will send out a link to that once we've got that processed and up online, if there's any colleagues that you'd like to send it along to as well. So thank you all very much, and it's been great to see some lovely familiar faces and some new faces as well. So thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.